Hello, school representatives. My name is Dan Nellis, and I'm one of your 2 executive staff officers at Local 38, here to talk to you today about the role of the school representative and how to navigate Council of School Representative meetings. The first thing you'll need to know is what your role entails. So, as a school representative, you're really the primary point of contact between teachers at your school and the association and the local. The most important part of this is to direct members on how and where to find information. We'll ask for your assistance on a regular basis when it comes to helping with elections and getting members involved in votes, as well as some information transmission with regards to collective bargaining. You'll also find opportunities to communicate with your staff. So at staff meetings, all staff emails, transmission of documents, putting things in people's mailboxes. There's a variety of different ways that you might get information from the association to your fellow teachers. What you are not, however, is a shop steward, and we'll talk about that in a couple of slides. Now, teachers, as a school representative, will find you and ask you a great many questions. They'll ask you where to find resources. They'll ask you about professional development funding opportunities through the association. They'll probably even ask you collective agreement questions. And certainly they'll ask you questions you probably don't know the answer to. Don't panic, however. Most of the answers to the questions you'll be asked can be found on the Local 38 website. And when you go to Council of School Representative meetings, many of the questions that you get will probably relate to things that we've talked about during the meeting. Now, there are also supports available. If you don't know the answer, don't guess at it. It's okay. Give us a call or an email at the local office and we can direct you the right way and provide you the answer for your staff members. And particularly when it comes to collective agreement questions, don't answer any of those at all. We want teachers with collective agreement matters to get in touch with the local directly so that we can provide information and assistance to them and make sure they have the right information in their hands. Similarly, if it happens to rise to a matter of a grievance, there are specific timelines that have to be adhered to, and having members contact us as quickly as possible is extremely helpful. Things you would want to avoid as a school representative: definitely avoid imperiling your colleagues under the code of conduct. So you don't want to attend meetings as a union rep or as an observer from ATA. That's not your role. And doing so could put everybody, yourself included, at risk under the code. You also want to avoid violating your duty of fidelity to the employer. So in any verbal comments you might make during staff meetings or in written communication from you, don't disparage the CBE. That's a good rule of thumb anyways. That's part of your code of conduct as an employee under CBE's administrative regulations. But again, you don't want to be seen as doing so as a representative of the association either. Please avoid sending any bargaining information via CBE email. I know it can be irritating sometimes to have to log into the association's website in order to access this information, and that can be a challenge for some of your colleagues as well, even though it would be easier to access if it was sent to the school distribution list. There's actually rules that prohibit that. So avoid sending detailed bargaining information via that route. We do want people to be logging on to the site to access it. And if you're experiencing issues with that, there is an IT helpline with the provincial association. And finally, if you don't know what to do, call us. If there's a situation where you're experiencing some discomfort as a school rep, we can certainly help you navigate that. Now, who do you call? Well, there's lots of places to call to get information for a variety of different issues. So Typically, your first point of contact is going to be CBE's Employee Contact Center. Anytime somebody has problems with pay, salary, benefit coverage, T4s, employment verification, all that stuff, the ECC is the place to go. Now, if the ECC doesn't answer that question, or if they don't know the answer to that question, or the issue is not relevant to them, give us a call at the local next. We are happy to address any kinds of questions or concerns that you might have, and if we can't answer it, we can certainly point you in the right direction. And finally, you need to understand about teacher employment services. These folks are here to assist anytime a teacher has issues related to teacher evaluations, legal issues, contract issues, issues related to code of professional conduct. TES is there to step in with those more complex things. Now, at Council of School Representative meetings, you will get an information package both 1 week prior to the meeting as well as 2 to 3 days prior to the meeting. The one that comes 2 to 3 days prior to the meeting is the more detailed package. Please review that information beforehand, even though it can seem daunting, and download the documents onto your desktop or your device prior to arriving. Sometimes the Wi-Fi at our venue, which is the Glenmore Inn, can be a little bit tricky, so it's helpful for you to download that in advance so you don't have to fight with everybody else trying to get information through a very small pipeline. Once you arrive at CSR each month, please pick up any paper packages that there might be. Sometimes there's candidate election materials, sometimes there's posters for your school, and you can enter for the door prize or sign in via the QR code on your table. In fact, the signing in for the QR code is probably the most important thing to do, because that is how we record your attendance, and we look at that attendance when we look at the honorarium at the end of each school year. So yes, you do get paid for attending each meeting. We recognize that teachers love acronyms, and the association is no different. There are many different acronyms that you will hear at CSR meetings. There's one of them. We will try to avoid using acronyms, the speakers at the front, wherever possible. But if we slip up and use an acronym that you don't know what it is, please don't be afraid to ask for clarification, and the speaker is more than happy to define what the acronym is. Now, in terms of what we would normally see at a Council of School Representatives meeting, President's remarks, this is a common feature and would involve the President providing some insight into the work of the local and reports on high-level meetings that they would have attended as part of their role. You'll see an executive staff officer report. We usually delve a bit into relevant matters about the collective agreement and or employment matters, conditions of practice that have been cropping up for our members in the past month. There's a district representative report. There's statements of expenses that you would see on a monthly basis that help you identify what the financial position of the local is. And we'll also typically ask school representatives in these meetings to engage in some mini feedback sessions. So that's what Feedback in 5 would be. School representatives and the Council of School Representatives are owners of our policy manual. So you will often see resolutions related to Local 38 policy, as well as resolutions on matters that school reps would need to weigh in on. And anything that was a significant financial matter would be part of that. Committee reports are also part of the agenda. Feel free to ask any questions you like of the committee chairs. And finally, members' questions. Now, this is an opportunity for school reps to get up and ask a question of anybody at the table on pretty much any topic that you might like. Some reminders for this section: please be professional. Consider the Code of Professional Conduct when you voice your question. Teachers are covered by the Code of Conduct at all times, including at CSR meetings. If you can, please be concise. And of course, if you don't want to get up to the microphone to ask a question, you can always ask questions of executive staff before the meeting or after the meeting, or by calling and emailing the office at any point in time. After the meeting, you can talk to anybody on the executive committee. They're likely to be hanging out and either visiting or making themselves available to members to chat. You can also please report back to your teachers on the content of the CSR meeting. So what you'll see is that many reps will write a summary report or an email for their staff that are highlighting the points that would be important to them. This should be distributed in a timely fashion because you'll find that a lot of the information that we discuss at CSR meetings are very time sensitive in nature. Now, CSR meetings are run according to Robert's Rules of Order. On the Local 38 website, you will find a primer that gives you some concise information on what the typical orders and procedures are and how to navigate those, but we'll do that briefly here as well. So the details are in the ATA Members Handbook. You can find that on the provincial website. But some of the essential rules that you must know about are, how to make motions, what points of order are, what division of the House is, and what challenging the chair is. When you go to the microphone at CSR, always identify yourself first. So the chair will recognize you at the microphone, and then please begin by indicating your last name and your school location. Once you've done that, you can proceed to make motions as you like. So, you can indicate your school, your name and school, followed by your seconder and their school, and then indicate I move, and then express what your motion would be. Once you've done that, you can then explain the rationale to your motion if you wish. Do it in that order. If you try and explain your rationale first and then move a motion, you'll be ruled out of order and you'll have to sit down and you won't be allowed to move your motion. So again, name and school, seconder's name and school, then explain what your motion is, and then provide your rationale for the motion. If you wanted to make an amendment to a motion, it's a very similar procedure. Be concise and provide a rationale for why you're making that proposal. All you have to do is convince 50% plus one of the House. And then amending the amendment is very similar to that. Again, same procedure, but this is as far as you can go in terms of amending a particular motion. So let's see what that looks like. For example, if somebody makes a motion, be it resolved that Calgary Public Teachers expend $35,000 to provide each school representative with a $100 Starbucks gift card. Somebody might rise and make an amendment to that motion. Moved to amend by adding the words, funds to come from the president's salary line. Somebody might not like that, and so they could amend the amendment by moving to strike salary line and place expense allowance there instead. In terms of how that vote would go, you would have to vote on the part in purple first. So on just changing salary line to expense allowance. Once that was done, you would then go back to the original amendment. So you'd be voting on just the part about funds to come from the president's either salary line or expense allowance, depending on how the first amendment went. And then you would have to vote on the original motion. So that process can be a bit convoluted. If you need the chair to slow down, please make sure you raise your hand or go to the microphone and indicate that you need the chair to repeat something, if necessary. That would actually be a point of order. So if things are going much too fast for you and you're a little bit confused on where you are, rise to the microphone and indicate you have a point of order, and you can ask the chair a question. Points of order can also be used when you believe that a rule of order or procedure has been violated. So this is a priority motion. It means you jump to the front of the speaker's line if there is one. Points of order have to be dealt with right away. You can also do a request for information. This is a type of point of order where you're asking a question related to the business at hand. So this is not used for debate. You're not using this for when you want to provide information. This is when you have an urgent question that has to be answered right now in order for the business of the house to continue. A division of the house is used whenever a school representative believes that the chair has made an error in how they've ruled on a particular motion. So if the chair observes the House and says that motion has carried or that motion has failed and you think it was supposed to be the other way, you could call for a division of the House and actually get the folks at the front to do a hand count or a manual count of people who voted in favor versus people who voted against. Typically, this would be used when the vote was really indecisive or quite close. It is time consuming, so you don't want to do this for every motion. But again, if you believe something was ruled the wrong direction and the chair got the count wrong, that's when you would do this. And surprisingly, the chair isn't always perfect. So if you think the chair was wrong about something, anything, you can challenge the chair. This is non-debatable, and what you're asking for is the House to vote on whether the chair has actually acted properly or ruled properly in something. If the House votes in favor, they're upholding the chair. If they vote opposed, that means the chair was wrong and they're overruling the chair. So, thank you in advance for your time, for your commitment, and for your efforts as a school representative. We know that there's a lot to remember, but we are here to help. Ask questions whenever you need to, and your local office staff are certainly there to support. Thanks very much.